Good morning. Today is Saturday, August 20th, 2016. Please excuse the mess. I just wanted to record this because I haven't been recording any of the processes that I've been doing lately, and I just wanted to be able to get one early video in. I've been experimenting with paper clay again. I wanted to see if I could make a paper clay that was very, very similar to pottery or ceramic clay, a clay that had structural mold, more of a structure that could hold a shape. But so far I am running into a lot of walls. I've made basically I've created 4 different types of clay. This was my first piece. This was a piece that was made out of tissue paper. And the rest of the recipe is the same, which I'll go over later. This has been hardening. This would be I think the 3rd day that it's hardening. It is still cool on the inside. And this is nothing really but thin rolled out slabs on a mold. And I did not have white glue, so I ended up using a warehouse, it's called tight bound yellow glue, which kind of gives this a yellow color. So I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. I thought maybe just add a stain that really brings out this texture. I was thinking about carving into it, but I think it might fall apart if I carved into it. The second piece, very quickly, is this piece, which is still cool to the touch. This is also in its 3rd day. On the mold, which was on that little mold right there. And I wanted to incorporate color into the clay. So basically what this is crepe paper, blue, cut up very finely and just mixed in with the clay. And draped over a mold again, thin slabs draped over a mold. And then I took like a slip. I made a slip, which is what they do with the clay pottery, and I just covered it. That's what gives it this crater look, which is not what I was going after. I was thinking that I would also carve into this and see what color would be brought out. This is still drying. It's still cool to the touch. This piece I made yesterday. This is toilet tissue paper mache clay, and I was trying to do a vessel, a coil vessel, but it just imploded upon itself. It fell apart, it caved in, and just to save the piece I built it up only to that far, only to that tall, that height, which is about 2 inches. And then I took some of my paper yarn that I had, which looks like just regular yarn here, but when it's dry it looks really pretty, but I had to wet it so that it would adhere to this, and it just looks like yarn, which is, I'm not happy about that. So I'm just going to let this dry. I thought maybe I would carve out something in these spaces while it's still soft. This is still soft. And the last piece, excuse the branches, I'm doing a whole bunch of different things, is I want to make a slab bowl out of this. I made this yesterday, and once again this was a very pretty paper yarn. I'll insert a still shot that I thought would look nice embedded, and if I can get close enough without it really getting fuzzy, you can see all the fine hairs. That's like silk, crepe paper, hand-dyed paper, which was made into a paper yarn, and then I embedded it in this piece. It's also on the other side, so once I slump it over a mold and let it dry, Hopefully this will be something. But right now, as far as the paper clay, I'm not really happy with what I'm getting, and I know I made it before. Hold on a minute, I just want to show you what was done last year. Yes, I think this was done last year, maybe even earlier than last year, maybe longer than a year, but this was paper clay that was made out of newspaper, and it was my first paper clay attempt, and I was trying to get something that would give me like fine detail, and I hope you can see that this is a mouth with a mustache, but I don't know if I'm going to get out of focus, but the mustache is very finely detailed. And if you look at this creepy eye, sorry about that, you know, I even try to give the appearance of little eyelashes, just kind of barely peeking out. And I was able to do that, which is amazing with this paper clay. And this is like really hard. I just put it like on a simple, you know, cardboard backing. Maybe it, you know, it warped maybe ever so slightly, but you know, this is, hopefully I can make this, even though this would not, I don't believe it would hold up to the structure of a vase or a bowl the way clay does. But these first attempts that I showed you, this was paper clay made out of toilet tissue, and the other one was tissue paper, white tissue paper. So I do have some newspaper paper clay, and I'm hopefully that I will be able to do something with this. Okay, that's my first one. I just wanted to just document it, because as the days go by, the pieces get harder and harder, and you don't see what they look like in the beginning processes. Okay, that's it. Stay tuned for more experiments in paper clay. I really do hope that this turns out, because I love this yarn that I sacrificed for this project. Okay, bye. Good morning. Today is Friday, September the 2nd, 2016. I'm just recording this as I always record the stuff that I'm working on. I had a little bit of anxiousness and a little bit of free time, and I decided to experiment again with paper mache clay, or paper clay. And these are the things that I have been working on in the last couple of days. I only devote 3 hours a day to it, from 6 to 9 a.m. and then the rest of the day is devoted to orders and an upcoming wedding that I'm preparing for someone, and time is very sparse. But this was my first piece, and this piece was made out of tissue paper, not regular computer paper, but tissue paper. So it was tissue paper clay, not toilet paper, but tissue paper clay. And I just took some very thin slabs and formed them over a mold, and as you can see, the slabs, where I put them together, you'll see the lines, which I kind of like. And on this side, once it hardened up, I really went over it with just a thick slip, which is just clay and water. And this is how it dried, and it was a cream color like this. And subsequent to that, I have, in the process of hardening it, I have mixed some hardeners with a thin coat of black acrylic paint, and on this side it was gold and black, and I like the almost like bronze effect that came out. So that was a nice surprise in experimenting. This is not finished yet. I'll probably do a couple more coats and maybe some varnish, because it is paper clay. I cannot fire it. My goal was is to find a paper clay that had the same structure as ceramic clay. And of course, that is very difficult for me. I know it's easy to use paper clay over wire forms and paper and masking tape, but I wanted to see if I could somehow come up with a paper clay that acted just like ceramic clay but without the firing. I mean, I live in a city, I live in an apartment building, I'm not going to have a kiln, which is something to dream for, but I'm really not going to go that deep into it for safety reasons and for other reasons. But this was my goal in working with the paper clay. This was the second piece that I worked on, and it was made out of, I think this was made out of toilet tissue. So this is toilet tissue paper clay, and the only thing I did differently with this was that I mixed in very fine pieces of royal blue crepe paper, and the paper easily bled, which was what I was counting on, and it gave me this coloring, which is a mottled ocean blue coloring, which I really do like. And once again, on the back of this, I mixed it in with a thick slip, and you can see the chunks of paper. It's almost like crater-like, but it made this more stabilized. It gave it a thicker coating. And the third piece I worked on was also, I think this was the toilet tissue paper clay, and this was, like, to me, the ugliest piece. I tried to incorporate some paper yarn over it, and the paper yarn was quite pretty before I put it on, but once I put it on and once I coated it again with the slip, it just looks like regular yarn on this. It doesn't look like the fluffy paper yarn that I had. So this I basically stopped working on. I don't know, maybe I'll come back to it later. This was the next piece, which I think is the toilet tissue paper. I was thinking that I was going to be able to make a bowl and make a slab and drape it over a form, but it started to crack too much, and that was the problem that I was finding with the paper clay. It wasn't smooth, it cracks very easily, doesn't really hold shape. So when I saw that it started to crack, I just quickly took it off and let it dry flattened. And this is also paper yarn that is I used in this, and this was my best paper yarn, thinking that this was going to really come out, and it didn't. So I'm just going to use it as a platter. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but you see the fine hairs of silk that was incorporated in this paper yarn. This reminds me of the horsehair that people use in their ceramic pottery. So I did get an idea from this, and hopefully I will be able to use the silk in the same manner as people use horsehair in the ceramics. It's not going to burn up on the pottery as the horsehair does, but it does kind of give it that same feathery appearance, which I really do like. And I don't know if you can see that circle in the center. I've started to burnish this piece. Burnishing it is just giving it a smooth texture. You burnish it with a smooth stone. This is the stone that I've been using, so I started to burnish that. And I also started, let's see, trying to work on different recipes with the paper clay, and I kind of incorporated salt and flour into some clay that I already had, like the old-fashioned dough, which is just flour, salt, and water. So I blended that with some paper clay that I had, and this is what I got. And you can see that it's very it's like you could just really, it's rough to the touch, and it's lighter and it feels like very salty, very sandy. That's what it feels like. And it doesn't really feel as if it would hold up. But you know, this is what I was working on. Just some fast things, no really planned ideas, just some fast things. Really trying to create a paper clay that you can do fine detail with. I know I did it before. I have a piece lying around somewhere, I don't know. I got the fine detail, but as far as creating a paper clay with structure that would hold shape, that I'm still trying to experiment with. These pieces I'll probably coat with a black gesso to bring out the lettering and the shadows and wipe it off, as I did with this bowl. Since it is like a stone type of feel. Yeah, that's the look I really get with this. A stone type of feel. That's what I'm going to do with that. And this piece, let me move some of this stuff out of the way. Hold on a minute. Doesn't want to. Not balanced. This piece is actually a piece of two different types of clay. This is, I guess it's toilet tissue paper mache clay and newspaper clay. So I just blended them together because that's what I had, and I actually kind of like this little bowl, and I made a top that goes with it. And I'm starting to burnish this top, which you really can't see, but the feel when you burnish it, it really takes on a nice, soft, leathery feel. The roughness is gone, and I'm going to have fun once I finally get that done. But that's like a lot of work. Trying to create pottery like in the not in the modern sense with machinery, but doing everything by hand. It does take a long time to do. And this, oh yeah, this is another clay that I started working on. I was looking at maybe mixing paper clay with a real type of clay or bentonite type of clay. So this is, I started continuing on with this. I worked on it this morning. It's still wet. Paper clay mixed with litter, which is just clay, you know, unscented litter. It's not bentonite, because bentonite is a little bit too expensive for me to experiment, but it's just clay. So it's a clay and paper mixture. The bottom part is the clay and paper mixture, and today I had some old paper clay, so I just added that to the top. You'll see the difference in that once that dries. This is, I'm just going to go over there. This is a total paper clay cat litter mixture. It seems to firm up harder, which I like. And this is, let me see, did I make this? I made this yesterday, slumped it. It's a slab. I placed it on a mold. It dried significantly, a good amount. It's too large to put in my dehydrator. Things like this, small things I've been able to put in a dehydrator. It helps to dry them out faster with a gentle type of blowing heat. But this plate is a little bit too big, so it's just going to have to dry on its own. So today I just experimented with some type of like stenciling and just trying to draw a picture in the center. So I don't know if you can see that that's a tree. I think I have a fixation on trees. So all my art tends to just wind down to trees, but that's it. That's the second day. And last but not least, is this large piece that I've been working on. It's a mixture of paper clay and paper and litter, and we're just going to see how far I can take this up, because this is what I'm really trying to achieve, is to be able to build something of structure that's not going to fall down. When it was shorter, I build it in sections. Each day I add on levels as far as I think I can take it without it caving in on itself, and then I let it harden. I was able to place it in the dehydrator when it was low, but today it's too tall for me to do that, so it's going to have to dry on its own. And I kind of like it. I like that it looks massive. It's the biggest thing I've done so far, and I don't even know if I'm going to cave it in. I'm going to flip it out. I'm going to make it into a small opening. I'm just really letting it go where it wants to go, because in the beginning it was really trying to fall apart. So, but yeah, that's it. That's what I do sometimes when I don't want to work on my orders, which I need to work on the orders. And I need to be doing this wedding stuff, but sometimes you just want to take a little bit of time just to escape, to do the stuff that you really like to do. So, that's it. Having fun working on pottery, it really works your arms, and I really appreciate all the people that are professional ceramic artists and paper clay artists. Alright, everyone, have a great one. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Have a safe and a blessed one. Bye.